What were the biggest financial lessons learned from the crisis? One of the most important lessons was the critical importance of liquidity and cash flow management. During periods of severe revenue decline, hotels with stronger cash reserves and flexible cost structures were significantly more resilient. Another major lesson was the importance of scenario planning and rapid decision-making. The crisis also highlighted the need for balanced business segmentation rather than relying too heavily on a single demand source. Ultimately, financial discipline and operational adaptability became essential survival factors. How should hotels prepare for a potential economic downturn? Preparation should focus on flexibility, liquidity protection, and operational resilience. Hotels should maintain conservative cash management practices, closely monitor working capital, and regularly review cost structures. In addition, contingency plans should include multiple business scenarios based on occupancy and revenue decline assumptions. Operationally, workforce flexibility and disciplined capital expenditure planning are also extremely important during uncertain periods. The objective is ensuring the hotel can respond quickly without compromising long-term business sustainability. Which costs become most critical during periods of low occupancy? During low demand periods, fixed and semi-fixed costs become especially important because revenue declines faster than operational expenses. Payroll, utilities, lease obligations, and maintenance costs usually create the greatest pressure on profitability and cash flow. In luxury hospitality, balancing cost control with service quality becomes particularly challenging because brand standards must still be maintained. Therefore, flexible staffing strategies and operational efficiency become essential during occupancy downturns. How important is contingency planning for hotels today? Contingency planning is absolutely essential in today's hospitality environment. Hotels operate in highly dynamic markets influenced by economic conditions, geopolitical uncertainty, travel trends, and operational risks. A strong contingency plan improves decision-making speed, operational coordination, and financial resilience during unexpected disruptions. It also helps leadership teams respond more calmly and consistently during crisis situations. Effective contingency planning is no longer optional, it is part of responsible business management. How do we maintain profitability if another major crisis occurs? Maintaining profitability during a major crisis is extremely difficult, so the focus initially shifts toward business continuity, liquidity protection, and operational survival. The key is having sufficient financial flexibility, disciplined cost management, and diversified revenue streams before the crisis occurs. Hotels that respond quickly, communicate clearly, and adapt operations efficiently generally recover faster. Long-term profitability depends not only on cost reduction, but also on protecting guest trust, employee stability, and brand reputation throughout the recovery process. What recovery strategies proved most effective after COVID? Hotels that recovered fastest were usually those that adapted quickly to changing market demand. Many successful properties shifted focus toward domestic leisure travel, regional corporate demand, staycation packages, and flexible booking policies. Strong digital marketing, loyalty engagement, and operational agility also played important roles. In addition, hotels that maintained service consistency and employee engagement were often able to recover guest confidence more effectively. What should be our top crisis management priority moving forward? I believe our top priority should be strengthening operational resilience and financial flexibility. This includes maintaining healthy liquidity, improving forecasting visibility, strengthening contingency planning, and ensuring operational adaptability across departments. In addition, leadership communication and cross-functional coordination become extremely important during uncertain periods. The goal is not only surviving future disruptions, but positioning the hotel to recover quickly and sustainably. Should we reduce CapEx during uncertainty? I believe CapEx decisions during uncertain periods should become more selective rather than completely suspended. Protecting liquidity is obviously important during economic uncertainty, but delaying all capital investment may negatively affect asset quality, guest satisfaction, and long-term competitiveness. The key is prioritizing projects with strong operational impact, clear ROI potential, or critical asset preservation requirements. For example, energy efficiency upgrades or essential maintenance projects may still generate meaningful long-term value even during downturn periods. CapEx strategy should balance short-term financial caution with long-term asset sustainability. How much emergency reserve is sufficient? The appropriate reserve level depends on the hotel's business model, debt obligations, fixed cost structure, and market volatility exposure. However, from a financial risk management perspective, hotels should ideally maintain enough liquidity to support several months of essential operational expenses during severe demand disruption. Emergency reserves provide operational flexibility, support payroll continuity, and reduce pressure during unexpected downturns. In hospitality, strong liquidity protection is extremely important because revenue can decline very quickly during crisis situations. Can profitability recover quickly after downturns? Recovery speed depends heavily on market conditions, operational flexibility, and demand segmentation. Hotels with strong brand positioning, diversified revenue streams, and disciplined cost management typically recover faster. Domestic leisure and regional corporate demand often return earlier than large international group business. However, profitability recovery usually lags behind occupancy recovery because labor, utility, and operational costs remain elevated during early recovery stages. Sustainable recovery requires both revenue growth and disciplined operational efficiency. How do we maintain service quality during crisis periods? Maintaining service quality during difficult periods requires strong leadership communication, operational prioritization, and employee engagement. Even when resources become more limited, consistency and responsiveness remain critical for guest confidence and brand reputation. Cross-training, operational flexibility, and clear service standards can help teams maintain performance under pressure. In hospitality, guests often remember how hotels respond during difficult situations more than the disruption itself. Should staffing models become more flexible? Yes, I believe workforce flexibility has become increasingly important in modern hospitality operations. Flexible staffing models allow hotels to respond more efficiently to demand fluctuations while protecting operational sustainability. Cross-training, multi-skilling, and dynamic scheduling can improve productivity without necessarily reducing service quality. However, flexibility should remain balanced with employee well-being, operational consistency, and long-term talent retention. Which segments recover fastest after downturns? Historically, domestic leisure travel and regional business segments tend to recover faster after downturn periods. Short-haul travel usually rebounds earlier because international travel restrictions and corporate travel approvals often take longer to normalize. In addition, premium leisure and staycation demand may recover relatively quickly in strong domestic markets. Large international group and MICE business generally requires longer recovery timelines due to planning cycles and global economic uncertainty. How should pricing strategy adapt during weak demand? During weak demand periods, pricing strategy should remain flexible but disciplined. Hotels may need to use targeted promotions, value-added packages, and dynamic pricing to stimulate occupancy. However, aggressive discounting should be managed carefully because long-term ADR erosion can damage profitability and market positioning. The focus should be protecting rate integrity where possible while optimizing business mix and channel strategy. Revenue decisions should support both short-term occupancy needs and long-term pricing sustainability.